Episode 3. Two Foxes Stole Our Cereal. Come on, please! Ramona whined while looking at Randolph with her puppy eyes. The guys behind her nodded. He sighed.
Fine.
He glared playfully at them as they cheered while walking out of his office. Flashback. Randolph was in his office sorting through some paperwork when a certain someone barged in with her crew. He looked up from his documents with a brow raised.
Can't you at least knock?
He said to them, making a gesture at the door. We want to go somewhere now, his twin sister Ramona demanded. He sighed and placed his documents on the table.
What now?
I groaned, and my beta, Alex, stepped in.
Well, we didn't have McDonald's lately.
He said, scratching the back of his head.
So we were, thinking...
Whatever he was trying to say was cut off by Ramona. We want McDonald's, she said happily, and the boys nodded.
No.
Randolph said and picked up his documents. They groaned and walked out of the study.
That was easy.
He thought.
With her, nothing is easy.
Ross, his wolf, said. What now? Randolph heard Ramona whispered behind the door. My gamma, Henry, trailed off.
Have no idea.
He finished. Randolph heard a smack and an ow!
I know!
Alex half shouted, and he whispers to them. Thanks to their wolf nature, Randolph could hear everything they said, loud and clear.
How about Ramona? You try and make him go too. Say something that will make him go with us.
He said. There was a pregnant silence, and then he heard the doorknob twist. Randolph pretends to look at his documents like nothing happened. Ramona walked in with Alex and Henry trailing behind. Why not? She asked.
Pardon?
Randolph asked, bemused. Why can't we go to McDonald's? She asked, crossing her arms.
Because I said so.
Randolph said smugly. What? That's your reason? She shouted.
Pretty much, yeah.
He said. She groaned and slammed her hands on the table, which made the documents fly everywhere. Her face was hard, then it softens. Please, I feel like something's gonna happen when we got there, she said, excited.
I agree.
Ross said.
What? You never agreed to whatever Ramona said.
Randolph asked curiously.
I don't know. I just have this feeling that something wonderful gonna happen.
He said, feeling excited.
Sometimes I think you're weird.
Randolph said.
Right back at ya.
He said with a wink. Present. We all ride our Porsche 911, except Ramona, we both sit in the same car, to McDonald's. Hey, is your wolf acting crazy? She asked, breaking the silent atmosphere.
Yeah, wait, yours too?
Randolph asked, and she nodded.
What do you think that they're going crazy about?
He asked, once he parked the car in McDonald's. She shrugged. I don't know, she said, and they got off the car. This is the reason why Randolph doesn't want to come. It's because of the girls that keep giving him hungry looks. It's freaking creepy and he hates it. So they quickly placed the order with minor flirting from the cashier lady and took a seat at the far corner of the store. Then from the window, they saw a white Chevrolet Corvette Z06 parked next to Randolph's car.
I'm getting very excited now.
Ross said.
Why?
He was cut off when the most wonderful scent hit his nose. It smells like the scent of the burned sweetness of a marshmallow. I have to bit my lips to stop myself from moaning. He looked to his right and saw Ramona doing the same thing.
Did you smell that?
He asked, and they looked at me and they sniffed the air. They shook their head, except for Ramona. Yeah, fresh ice and pine, she said and looked at him. They both looked around, then their eyes landed on a girl and a boy with blonde hair.
Mate!
Ross shouted. Mate.
Mate?
Both Randolph and Ramona whispered, then Alex and Henry gave them a, which one, look. Randolph pointed at the counter where his mate and Ramona's mate were standing. They nodded their heads.
About time!
They both said, and he chuckled. They were talking to the cashier lady, different from theirs, then to each other. After a while, the blonde boy walked away, which made Ramona wind. Then his mate was talking to the cashier lady. They used their enhanced hearing to hear what they were talking about. Randolph smiled when his mate laughed at what the cashier said, which was the most amazing sound he ever heard. No, he's my twin brother, she said.
They're twins? That just made everything easier.
I said to Ramona, using their pack's mind link. No, it's not if I can't make those girls stop staring at my mate, she growled back. His mate went to sit just a few feet in front of them, near the window, just before her twin brother came in and missed their table. When he jumped, as my mate whistled at him, it smoothed Ramona's anger a little bit, but it got worse when a waitress gave him her number while bringing them their food. It took both Randolph and Alex to make her calm down and not go storming to their table. Just after their food came, theirs too, and all of them dug in except him and Ramona, who was stabbing her salad with a plastic fork. Randolph was just sipping his hot tea, listening to his mate's sweet voice, growling into the cup when she said she too received a lot of numbers from guys. After a while, they both dig in. Suddenly, she stiffens a bit, then she started looking around, then she turned back to her twin. Then her twin brother also gave the surround a look, but his eyes widened slightly when he saw Randolph. Randolph and Ramona looked at each other, lost. After that thing went to normal for a few minutes before they started packing. Fast. "What's going on?" Ramona asked, half up from her seat. When their mates stood up and practically ran out of the store, Randolph and Ramona shot out from their seat and chased after them. But they were too late, as their mates had already drove away. Randolph caught his mate's eyes from the rearview mirror before the car went out of sight. Randolph growled, about to shift and chased after them when he felt Alex and Henry grabbed onto his biceps and dragged him to the car with Ramona driving him away. When they arrived back to the pack house, he rushed out the car, ignoring the pack members and his parents' question. He shifted into his brown wolf and ran into the woods.
Honey, what's going on?
Their father asked Ramona. "We just found our mates," she explained. Their mother frowned. "Then why is he angry?" Ramona sighed. "Because both our mates ran away from us." Their mother gasped and was going to question furthermore, but Ramona beat her to it. "I'll fill you in later. Right now I got an alpha twin brother to catch," she said, and ran after her brother after shifting into her gray wolf. "Come on, Randolph, stop. Let's calm down and talk," Ramona mind-linked me.
How can I calm down when I just saw my mate run away from me?
He growled back. "Hey, it wasn't just your mate that ran away from you, mine too." With that, he stops running.
Fine. We'll stop running. But we're gonna talk this out back in the pack house.
He linked, and they rushed back towards the pack house. "Perfect, but we better hurry. We're late for school."
Why didn't you tell me sooner?
Of course, right after they arrive, they just have to make a fool of themselves.
Ugh. What have you been eating, Ramona?
Randolph said, trying to push her off of him. With a gasp, she got up, but when Randolph tried to get up, Ramona smirked and stick her legs out in front of him when he was walking. And he ends up tripping.
Ugh.
He groaned and the whole class laughed. He heard someone gave a little chuckle. Immediately, Randolph's head popped up and looked at the source.
It's her!
Randolph thought. Bethany blinked. Once. Twice. Then she quickly looked away from him and stared at the blackboard. She heard him get up and sat next to her. She felt his gaze on her, which she ignored. "All right, today it looks like we have 2 new students," the teacher, Mrs. Rose, said, and looked at Bethany and Sebastian. "Come over here and introduce yourself," Mrs. Rose said cheerfully. She sighed before making her way to the front.
My name is Sebastian Lloyd, and this is my twin sister.
Sebastian trailed off. "Bethany Lloyd. We just moved here today from Los Santos," Bethany said, and they both looked at Mrs. Rose. Like hell, they're going to give more information. "Okay, you may go back to your seats. Everyone take out your textbook, page 59, Mrs. Rose said.
Hi, I'm Randolph Stoner, but call me Randolph.
Randolph said, and Bethany tensed up, but relaxed after that. She turns to face him, but looks anywhere but his hazel eyes, so she looks at his stretched out hand instead. "Bethany Lloyd, but call me Bethany," she said, and shook his hands. All of a sudden, there was a spark that travels through their hand, and Bethany quickly pulled away. She heard it growled, but she ignored it because she knew that it was Randolph. When the bell rang, Bethany quickly packed her stuff and said a quick goodbye to Sebastian, and ran out of the class. After that, she spent the whole day avoiding Randolph, but still close to him to learn his movement and habits. The last bell rang, and once again she quickly packed her things and ran out of class. When she almost reached the door, Randolph was there with his legs spread open and arms crossed, blocking the door. "I don't have time for this," she mumbled, and thought of a plan. She looked at his spread open legs and smirked. She took a few steps back and ran straight at him without stopping, and then she slides on her knees and bends her back as low as she could and smoothly slid through his wide open legs. She stood up and looked over her shoulder. She saw him looking at the place that she just slides through, then turned around to look at her. Bethany smiled and wriggled my fingers. "Toodles," she said, and ran, leaving him stunned. Then she heard someone clapped.
Wow!
Sebastian said while laughing. "Shut up and let's go," she said, and dragged him along.
All right,
he said and chuckled. When they walked out of the front door of the school, the sky rumbled.
At least it's not raining.
Sebastian said, and right on cue, it started to rain. "Remind me to shut that mouth of yours," Bethany said.
Nuh-uh, this mouth will never be shut.
He said with a smirk. She rolled her eyes. Run? She suggested.
Run.
He agreed, and they ran like some madmen. When they reached their home, the first thing they did was running towards the bathroom. Luckily, they have two. After they finished bathing, they sat on the floor of the living room, discussing their targets while eating sandwiches that they bought at school during recess time. So, what did you got? She asked.
I got nothing.
He said, and lay down. Me too, Bethany said. Then they heard a clang coming from the kitchen. They shot up. She looked at Sebastian, then nodded. They bent down to grab our weapons, which were a dagger and a pistol. They walked ever so quietly towards the kitchen and heard a weird sound coming from below the island. She motioned Sebastian to go to the opposite side and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. They jumped out and pointed their weapons at the intruder. They sighed and put their weapons down. Well, the intruder turned out to be 2 foxes, a red fox and an Arctic fox, munching on the cereal that Sebastian brought from home.
Hey, that's new.
Sebastian half shouted. The red fox, who had its paws in the box, stopped and looked at them, and the white fox just lowered its head. Busted, the white one said.
Oops,
the red one said. I told you, Red. I told you that someone just moved in and we can't just come in, but no! You just have to cause trouble, the white one said.
Yeah, you should listen to her, Red. Now paws off my cereal,
he said, and bent down to snatch the cereal away.
Sorry,
Red said. Well, you better be. We almost killed you, Bethany said, showing them their dagger and pistol.
Oh my god, Snow! You didn't tell me that they were hunters.
Red said.
What? No! We're not hunters. We're assassins,
Sebastian said, and stuffed a handful of cereals into his mouth. The foxes gave him a, what the fuck? You serious? Look. Thank you, Sebastian, for making everything worse. Bethany glared at him, but he smiled and gave her a thumbs up. You're not gonna kill us, right? Snow asked. Don't listen to my brother, and no, we're not gonna kill you. And I kinda like foxes, she said, sitting down. Red walked and sat in front of her.
Thanks. And by the way, how can you guys talk to us?
He asked.
Well, we're kinda able to talk to animals ever since we were young, but nobody believed us, so...
Sebastian said and plopped beside her. The foxes nodded their heads. So where are your parents? Snow asked. They died when we were 6, Bethany said.
I'm sorry to hear that. We don't know what happened to ours,
Red said and jumped onto her laps, licking my fingers as Snow did the same. So you guys are siblings? She asked. Snow nodded. You too? She asked. Oh, we're twins, Bethany said. They nodded, and they talked for a while.
So do you have anywhere else to go?
Sebastian asked, and they shook their head. You know, you can live with us, if you want to, Bethany offered, and their ears shot up.
Really?
Red said, looking at her.
Sure. Why not?
Sebastian said with a shrug.
Really? Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you,
they said, and licked at Sebastian and Bethany's faces.
By the way, what are your names?
Red asked. Mine's Bethany. He's Sebastian, they said. After that, we went back to the living room.